evening. Welcome to the January 2023 edition of Your Questions Answered. I'm Michael, KB9VBR.
And I'm still writing 2022 on my checks. I'm Joe, KD9CGX. Good evening.
It's terrible, isn't it?
Wait
you
a
still
minute.
write checks, don't you?
Thank you. Well, I write one a year. And that's for my union dues. So at the end of December, I got to go write a check for my union dues. Take it down to the hall, go talk to the folks down there. And that's the check I write for the year. Every now and then, maybe something comes in that I got to write a check for, but everything else is online. So it's like
I write a few checks still. So it's business, mostly stuff out of the business account. I'll write a check for. But,
right. But I think as of like October, Quick Trip no longer accepts checks.
Oh yeah.
So we're also going to write a bad check yet,
First you got to pay at the pump, and now they won't take checks. I mean, what's the deal there?
It's highway robbery, I tell you, it really is. then they put addictive, delicious food right in front of the door, and it's hot.
Yeah.
And then I have repercussions right here. I don't know.
But you can't get the small roller dogs, evidently. So.
Yeah. Well, not so much the roller dogs, it's the roller bites.
Roller bites, yeah.
All
the time. So, hey, we got some people starting to file in here, so we're gonna let's say hi to a few. Don here. Good evening. Did you get the same snow that they got in the Twin Cities? We did not. We got mostly mixed precipitation. I heard the Twin Cities got about 10 inches of snow, and we got sleet and freezing rain and garbage mostly. So.
Yeah. My daughter lives in Egan, and definitely she got like a foot of snow. We got like a couple inches. It's been icy though. It's been real icy, like some freezing rain, slushy sleet kind of crap all day. Like I was driving home today, and it was fine, and all of a sudden there was a little precipitation, and it froze right to my windshield. Like, oh crap, this ain't good.
That stuff. So.
We just got to be careful about that.
Yeah, and hello to Andrew from Maryland, and Mike from across the river there.
Hey, I saw him this weekend.
Yeah, Stephanie, good evening. Glad you made it tonight. Yep. And Chuck there, hello.
KD9VNC, that's a new call sign.
It is, very new one. So congratulations.
Got license not too long ago. Congratulations, Chuck.
Yeah. Yeah, Bruce says give it a couple of years, you won't be able to use cash either. So
wait a minute. Cash? What's that? My wife doesn't let me have that.
You haven't been using cash for ages.
No. I get an allowance. She gives me one of them little prepaid cards once a week. Here you go. Here's your allowance.
Oh man, almost 15 inches at the airport down at MSP. So it's that is deep. That's deep.
Yeah.
So
definitely that's going to be a problem when you're trying to fly out of there. But hey, Southwest, they didn't have that problem.
Are they flying now?
They're back to operating. Someone unplugged the computer and plugged it back in, I guess.
There we go. That's what they needed. So.
Exactly. Northwest Ohio, New Jersey. There we go.
New Jersey. So, and we got it looks like we got a little bit of a controversy brewing up here in the chat. So I'm just going to say good morning or evening to a couple other people. So it's
this looks like a job for me. So everyone,
hi all from Michigan, and Nathan there. So yeah, we're set up to receive APRS messages right now. We got the digipeaters up and running, Nathan. So we should be good with that.
Yeah,
I got an iGate that I'm building. So hopefully we get the iGate on the air in the next couple of weeks. I wanted to build one out of a Raspberry Pi, but those things are unobtainium. So
if someone had a Orange Pi knockoff,
I got to find. You got the power supply for it? So
no, it should just be a USB micro. I think
it does. Oh man, unless it is. Yeah, there's US. It says DC 5 volts, so I'll have to read the instructions.
Yeah, it should just be a micro USB on that. But hey, here's a winning idea. We could be the first live ham radio show that allows questions from APRS.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
Right? Right? I
Uh,
think that'd be pretty good. If you could get that to pop up on the screen and everything, that's your ticket to a Pulitzer Prize.
a pullet surprise.
Pulitzer Prize.
Yeah.
There you go. Pulitzer Prize.
Oh, we got Wet Sydney, Australia. First time viewer for the live show. So, Brian, glad to
Oh,
have you from the land down under.
happy Friday
So,
to you, my friend.
yeah. Then we got Michael in Argentina. It's summer down there in Argentina. So,
Oh,
it's
somewhere in Australia too,
Australia, too. That's right.
right?
So,
Australia, where the men are men and so are the spiders.
yep. Yep. So, all right. But I said we got a little bit of controversy brewing here. So, our buddy 45 here, he started off, eating dinner, had casserole
Oh,
for dinner, not a hot dish.
shots fired.
And,
Shots fired.
but hot dish is a meal, casserole is a container. And
Wow. I mean, really? Really?
yeah. So,
No, no. So a hot
yep.
dish is cooked in a casserole?
The hot dish is cooked in a casserole.
That sounds
That's
like
right.
a turducken to me.
No, the East Coast. Well, maybe if you're from the East Coast, you call it a casserole. So
I'm going to go with Don. I think it's just another word for a casserole.
yeah. Oh, jeez.
I don't know what you kids from Northeast Marathon County are talking about.
Oh. So.
I don't know if I can handle that sort of drama tonight, Michael.
Well, let's get back on the subject. So, we're here to answer your amateur radio questions. Drop them into the chat. We'll try to get to as many as we can. Yep. I've got a couple already queued up, but we can always take more. Then the first one is from Stephanie, because she asked what the acronym stands for, APRS. And that's a very good question.
Is another fight. There's the real version, and then there's what everyone else says it is.
Well, it's the automatic packet reporting system.
It is
automated.
Not the automatic position reporting system.
Well, it used to be long time ago, back in the 90s, when Bob Breninga, W4APR, first created the specification. He called it the position reporting system, but it grew into something that's a lot bigger than what it is now. And it's basically, it sort of got around that 98, 99 time frame. It sort of got renamed, and now we call it the automated packet reporting system, because what it does is allows you to send not only, you can connect what you do is you can connect your radio to a TNC to a GPS, and you can transmit your location, over the airwaves, so other people can find you. That's the position part of it. But you can also send messages. You can send alerts. You can converse back and forth. It does a lot of things. But it's a short form, unconnected, digital mode to send information. Positional type information. So, I think it's the easiest way to kind of explain it.
Like I said, data. We can now use it for text messaging between stations. There's a lot you can do with it, so it's a lot more than just position nowadays. Weather stations use it pretty frequently, transmitting real-time weather reports.
Weather information, yep.
Yep. I know a lot of guys who run repeaters, and they'll have an APRS beacon at the repeater site, and that will actually put out some basic diagnostic information like battery power, temperature inside the building, so on and so forth. So a repeater owner can kind of see that and know what's going on.
Yep, exactly. So I'll just pull up a screen here. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do.
He's pulling up something.
We're going to try to pull up our screen here.
There we go. There we go.
This is a website called APRS.fi, and see if I can just zoom in here. It's might take a second to load the screen. Basically, this is just going to show. There we go. All of the APRS traffic that's happening. Well, actually, and I'm just kind of centered in the central Wisconsin here because that's where I live and that's where the map came up. But you can see, yeah, there's like weather stations online. It gives you temperature information. There's home stations that you could message directly to. Let's see if I can find somebody. These are digipeaters. They help. They listen on the APRS channel and retransmit to extend the range of a packet. Let me see if I can find somebody that's driving. Here's somebody that's driving, and we can see people driving.
Hey.
And this guy is going. How fast is he going? It doesn't say, or does it? So there's a lot you can do. The web interface here doesn't let you really message people unless you open up log into the account. But so we'll just skip that portion. But yeah, that in a nutshell is what APRS is about. So
the thing I like about APRS nowadays is that a lot of HTs have APRS built right into them. I run a Yaesu FT3DR, and it's got the GPS and all the APRS and TNC built right into it. So you can take that, put the radio in your pocket, and that's going to be sending out a beacon. And in case of emergency, that's one additional piece of information. Somebody can find you, or if you get lost or you need to get a hold of someone, you have an HT in your pocket. So
exactly,
I'm a big user of that.
So if I'm driving,
big round,
so if I'm driving around, if I've got my radio on, I've got one of the Yaesu FTM 400s, which has just been discontinued, in my car. So you can search my call sign and see where I'm headed off to. So
speaking of discontinued,
probably should have said that. Yes.
Yeah, that's in itself is sad because Yaesu. Yaesu's been introducing a lot of new radios in the past few years, but they're killing off a lot of good ones too. And this year, just this past week, Yaesu announced that they are discontinuing the FTM 400, as well as the FT818s.
Yeah, that one's a hard blow.
That's a hard, because that was just reintroduced. So the FT818 is the 5 watts QRP all-in-one. 160 through 440. It's been a popular radio for 20 years. Originally released as the FT817, then there was 817D, which added 60 meters, and then there was a rework called the 818 due to parts availability. That just came out 2 years ago, I think.
No, it was 2018. So it was 4 years ago, almost 5. So
so it didn't have a very long run. But I think the availability of the cheap 20-watt QRP radios like the 599 and some of the other ones the Zygu out there, I think that's part of the reason why. Because they're all SPR, full touch color screens, everything else. But the 817 to the 818 is really popular, especially with guys who are into that use transverters for VHF, UHF, microwave. Also popular with satellite guys. So they're out there. You can probably find one on the used market for $400 or $500, depending on what model it is.
I think you can still pick up a few new ones. So stock is still available, but
get them while they're hot.
Get them while they're hot. It's a good radio. If you want a good QRP rig, or if you're thinking about satellite or microwave, that might be a good. It's a good thing to have. So
right. Or right now, I think if you want to get into QRP, now is the time.
It is.
With the sunspot cycle on the up right now, QRP is a very viable mode of communication. A lot of fun.
Yeah.
Go out there. I would have done that 2 years ago,
Yeah.
but now it's great.
And now there's so many QRP rigs to choose from. Like you said, there's the Elecrafts. ICOM has got their 705.
Exactly.
The Lab 599. There's the Zygu G90.
There's like 2 or 3 Zygus, I think.
Yeah, I think the Zygu 5105 is another super QRP ones. And then there's the ones that are CW only, like the LNR Mountain Topper and the SDR Works, SDR Lab or something like that. I can't remember the name of the company. That's another one that makes it just a little one of these just super tiny CW only rigs. So
it's my first time to believe I ran at 817. So I'm very near and dear to my heart. But it's really it is a 20-year-old radio. The 817, 818 share the same architecture as the 857, which was just discontinued a year or two ago, and the 897 as well. So I mean, really, it's a 20-year-old radio.
It is
repackaged a few years ago. But the simple first generation DSP does not compare to what's out there now.
And I think that might be part of the reason. Probably, they say the discontinuation was because of parts availability, and a lot of times when a rig is discontinued, it's probably one or two reasons. Either there's an IC that they're making that they don't do anymore, or it's one of the power transistors.
Right.
It's in those, because those and if one of those items, if you can't get them anymore, it just the whole design of the radio is just totally trashed, because it's not like you can plug and play those components.
Right. I think he's talking about the power transistor. You used to have the FT100, which is another great radio in a box. 162 meters, or I think it even did 440. But once the finals became unobtainium, good luck. So, like, if I had one, I think I still have it. I might still have it.
The 100,
the 100. But the VHF UHF finals below on them, guaranteed. And if you can find someone who still has those damn things, they are worth their weight in gold. They really are.
Hen's teeth, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
It's unfortunate, but that's just the way the business is. So
So Scout's glad he picked up his 818 one last summer. So good to hear you got one, and I know you've had it on the air a few times. So and it sounds like Andrew just got a FTM 400. So you'll love it. That is a great mobile radio. I like the it's got that big touchscreen display, which is just beautiful to run in the car.
Yeah, so the 300's a little bit smaller of a screen. I never really liked it. I think architecturally wise, I think they're pretty similar. I think
they're really close.
Features. But I run the 400 as well, and the head sits right on the dash. I got the body stashed away under a seat. You can't beat it. It was a great radio.
No.
So and I think the FTM 400 and the first generation Fusion repeater actually shared the same components as well.
Well, the first generation Fusion repeater was two FTM 400s headless in a box.
Right. So I guess that means that's discontinued as well now too.
Well, that's been discontinued for a while, which is not a bad thing. I mean, you think about it. What are most repeaters? It's just two
Motorola's in a box with no heads.
Yeah, exactly. So
every repeater I ever built was just that, two Motorola's and a controller.
Yep.
Hey, we go, no lies. For the past 20 years, our club has been collecting old Motorola VHF radios. We have a stash of them, like in a vault someplace, because they will last forever when you build a repeater. They really will. We can't tell you where we get them. I mean, at one point in time, a local railroad had to switch all the radios over to something else, and whoop, we got a
Yep.
whole bunch of them.
We got a whole bunch of them again. So
Like several truckloads of them.
Yeah. Stephanie says, yeah, we're killing her with the acronyms and model numbers. So what does QRP stand for? That's QRP is a low power operation. That's Q codes. Typically, I mean, Q codes were created back in the 1920s, 19s with Morse code operation, but because we love to use jargon in amateur radio, they kind of morphed into voice. So when we say QRP, we mean low power operation. If
Usually
we say
5 watts or less.
Yeah, 5 watts 5 watts more CW or Morse code, 10 watts sideband. If we say QRO, we mean full power, and when we say full power, we mean the whole 1500 watts. So
when I say QRO to the people, we know what we're talking about.
Full power. Yeah.
Power to the people.
But if we're just running 100 watts or the output of the rig, we're barefoot. So it's
there could be a whole book.
It's a wild ride. It's a wild
there
ride.
There could be a whole book on that stuff right here. Someone's got to teach a class in 2 weeks. I had to go buy the book because I haven't done it in a year or two. So
and they changed the stuff changed last year, I believe. So
yeah. Well, I don't think I've taught it since before COVID. Did I teach a little? I think I taught a little bit last year. But I really haven't taught a full class since before COVID.
Yep.
So again, then I have people who are begging me to do a extra class, and I haven't done that in 4 or 5 years, and
I know.
Changed. So it's like, do I really want to start going down that rabbit hole again? Because it's one thing to study it to pass the test, but to teach it and actually understand some of that, and they changed a lot of it. A lot of the stuff got tossed out, like the TTL logic got tossed out, and they got a lot more digital stuff in there, and I'm gonna have to relearn all that crap again. So I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, Stephanie, QRP, low power, QRO, high power.
High power. Yeah. There you go. So we got a couple. I'm going to grab a couple other questions here. Let's see. Leo says, can an alpha antenna mag loop work on a balcony? Should be able to. I know a lot of people that use their mag loops inside their house with good results because it's a low power. Because mag loop antennas, typically you're using relatively low power QRP. It's safer to use those indoors than other antennas. You still have to mind your exposure limits, of course. So yeah, out on the balcony, I think you should be okay.
Right. So. That reminds me of a good story of a young man, a friend of ours, who was using a roll-up J-pole in the house, feeding with 75 ohm TV coax. And he was running 70, 80 watts into it on 2 meters. And he complained every time that he transmitted, he'd get a headache.
Oh.
Sorry, dude.
That's something to be concerned about, but a lot of people do use those antennas inside. Kevin asks, what is your opinion on the SDR Play for ham radio? I like them. I've always wanted to get an SDR Play, and the reason why I want to get one is that my main rig that I got sitting next to me is the Yaesu FTDX3000. It's got an IF output in it, intermediate frequency output, that can be fed directly into your SDR Play, and then you've got the whole nice big fat waterfall on your computer screen.
I have thought about that. I haven't really looked into it, but now that you mentioned the IF output, I remember that now. And yes, so if you want a big waterfall, a super duper display, that would be the way to go on that.
So they're good.
I don't know.
Yeah, they're good little devices, and I've always been thinking about getting one. So Gregory asks, what's your recommendations for POTA field operations antenna tuner, manual or automatic? For the longest time, I've used manual antenna tuner. MFJ, I think it was the 945, or it's the 949. It was their travel tuner, mobile tuner, their mobile tuner. and worked really well for what I was doing it for. But it was getting a little bit. The buttons were, or the knobs were getting a little bit finicky. So I upgraded to the an auto tuner, and I'm using the LDG Z11 Pro 2. There's things that I like about the manual tuner as opposed to the auto tuner. One is you can manual tuners will work with balance feed line if you're going to want to run with that at all. We don't use a whole lot of that in the field, but just wait. The spring, I think we're going to see more of that in some of my Parks on the Air videos. So I'll have to pull the manual tuner out again. The auto tuner, it takes a battery, and there's been a couple of times I've pulled it out of my bag and the battery's been dead. So
I think the one thing we think about when you use a manual tuner is you can tune a wet noodle with them.
Yeah,
right?
you can.
And just about anything is an antenna if you got a manual antenna tuner. And as we showed in our antenna challenge back in October, I just ran a wire right off the back of the antenna tuner with that. And I was working 75, 40 meters without a problem on that. So they're very versatile, but they're a little bit of a learning curve. You got to make sure you get one with an SWR meter on it. Hopefully with the cross needles. Those are the best ones. And you got to practice a little bit. Make sure you know how to do it. Usually you start turning the inductance until you get to the loudest points on your S meter. And then you can fine tune the other two capacitors out.
Yeah. Skug says manual tuner equals learning.
Yep.
It is. And they're not really difficult to use. I got a video on it, how to use a manual tuner. So it's something that you can pick up relatively quickly. I think, sometimes once you get the hang of them, you can switch bands and switch tuner settings just as quick, because a lot of times you'll just write down those settings, and then when you go from band to band, you just fiddle the knobs.
As long as you move the antenna, they'll be the same generally.
Yeah. So. The Skug also asks a sweepstakes question. If I uproot multi-operator, can my non-licensed dad take the mic if I'm sitting next to him? I don't think so, because he's going to be operating under your call sign. So that to be multi-operator, wouldn't you still, unless you're using like a
club call? Well, but then, here's the question. On field day, you have someone come in on a club light or a club call.
So, well, then maybe that does work. Do you have to have all of the? I'd have to look at the rules. I'm not sure how the multi rules are. If it's, do you have to have the call signs of each of the operators for the multi operation? So,
yeah, I don't know.
That's a good question.
Yeah,
I'm not sure the answer on that one. I know on field day we do that a lot. We'll have a control operator and at the radio with an unlicensed person, and we're using the club call for everybody. So I guess it would be like the same. So
yeah, I think so. Yeah, you might be double check the rules on sweepstakes. But the sweepstakes is the league, so it's going to have almost the same rules as field day. So maybe. That's a good question.
It is a really good question. So,
While we were talking there, the spammer said it was pretty bad in the Facebook chat.
Whoa.
Spammers are almost as bad as tuner-uppers.
I think I got one of them hit.
Yep,
so
there you go.
Yeah.
I think Amp Up is also. But hey. That just shows you we're getting popular if we're getting spammers now too. Michael can't operate on 17 meters, nor can we have anyone here.
No, I don't think Amp Up is. He's asked a question earlier, so that one's legit. So, yeah.
All right. Well, you're good for now, Amp Up.
Sorry about that. I need a producer. Oh, geez.
Yeah. Yeah.
Somebody
Christine.
yeah, very good. In fact, Ampop asked a question here, and I think I just grabbed it. So why don't we grab his?
Throw back to that. Yes.
Yeah, because that was a good one. Why do you think the FCC still requires dollars for licenses? Most people are responsible. I've been a tech for 30 years now. Service modded hundreds of transceivers, and I never wanted a license. The reason, well, for the longest time, they did not require you to pay an administrative fee to get a license.
Well, I'm gonna simplify this for you, Michael. Blame Congress. It wasn't an FCC rule. It's Congress that made the rule.
It was a congressional law. It was called the Ray-Baum Act, R-A-Y-B-A-U-M, Ray-Baum Act.
Right.
And it was a big bill with lots of FCC stuff. With not just wireless, but also telecommunications and radio and television and everything. And one of the things stuck in this bill is that the commission had to recover the actual costs of these license administrative tasks. So they had to figure out
Congress.
So that is the reason why when you renew your license, when you get a new license, you have to pay a $35 administrative fee.
Right.
But for some reason, if you change your address or get an upgrade, you don't.
Right.
So
it's stupid. It really is. And then to do this, they had to put a big upgrade into the ULS system that probably cost millions of dollars, which no way they're going to recoup that from the ham radios. Okay. So what's the point? About 7-8 years ago, they used to charge a fee for GRMS licenses, right? It was like 60 or 70. It was like $60. And you know what they had to do? They just got rid of the license fee altogether for a while because it costs more to process the payment than what the actual charge was.
Absolutely. So it's crazy.
What's the point of this? So it's just Congress making a law that is completely, utterly stupid. Because it didn't actually think about the logistics of it. So the FCC actually had to sundown one of their systems, build a new system, convert everything over to that, and then they charge us a modest $35 fee.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, government.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it is, but it is what it is. So
it is. Yeah.
And, and the whole grand scheme of things, $35 is probably the least amount of money I've spent on anything at ham radio.
That's for sure. That's for sure.
What, honey? What? No, I've never spent more than $35 at ham radio. Yeah, well, leave it there.
Don here came into the chat. We were talking about running multi on Sweepstakes. If Dad isn't a licensed operator, so even with two at the mic, only one is the real operator because the second person can't be logged. So that's so you wouldn't be able to run a multi-station.
Yeah. Well, Hey, get Dad licensed.
Get him licensed. You can call. He can call CQ Sweepstakes and let his voice go hoarse for a while you're sitting there logging. So there you go. Take turns. But you'll still be single operator. So and
James,
I think
James KI5 OEB pilot license is radio license for life, right? Guess what else? FCC. You can get your general radio telephone operator's license, the commercial license, and that's for life as well. So why do we got to renew every 10 years? I don't know.
Yeah, go figure. Go figure. So, well, we're at the bottom of the hour here, so I just want to kind of remind everybody that that there's a lot of work that goes into keeping the wheels rolling around on this channel, and the people that help us the most are our patrons.
They buy Michael a new 3D printer.
Actually, that came from Amazon affiliate money. So.
Oh, even better. Free money.
So click on that little link in the description. I want to welcome some of our new patrons from this last month. A supporter level Dan Daniels and a friend level Terry Brown. Thank you so much. And also our associate producers at the high level, Dave White, Brian Liebing, Lyle, and Rand Gray. Your continued support of the channel is so greatly appreciated. And like I said, it helps us keep things going. Some of the things that, you know, the patron funds go to are things like that. All of the funky music you hear in the in my Parks on the Air videos, you know, I got to pay I pay an annual licensing fee for all of that music.
I was gonna say, I hope you don't pay for the music for the intro to this, because that's
Hey,
no.
that's good stuff. That's good stuff. Closed captionings. A lot of the videos, like my ham radio how-to videos and instructional videos, I make sure that those are closed captioned for people that either don't want to listen to my voice, or maybe English is not their primary language, and then the captioning helps a lot for that. So that costs money. That's $1.50 a minute. So it's so patrons help with things like that really improve the quality of the channel, and that's what we really
So guys, thank you.
Thank you so much for that. And you can become a patron by supporting the channel at www.patreon.com/KB9VBR antennas. So, Jody, you got to stretch your legs because it is time for a commercial.
Uh-oh. Commercial time. Stretch them.
KB9 VBR antennas are simple, effective, and affordable VHF and UHF antennas for amateur radio, MERS, public safety, and GMRS. Made in the USA with quality parts. Get yours online at jpole-antenna.com. And while Joe is stretching his legs, I just want to kind of say hi to everybody that sent QSL cards to me in the last month. I got a big stack here. KA5GBU from the great state of Texas, a beautiful Lone Star. There, KB9FPY, a nice card. Rhode Island, beautiful lighthouse. Another Kentucky, beautiful cardinal from North Carolina. The shores of Maine, W1VBX. Let's see. KI5 YUB here, beautiful truck. And more good stuff. Nice J38 key. Mike here in Michigan, KE8PTX is nice QRP setup.
Hey, that's a 17 right there.
Yeah, that's it. Yep, that's the. Is that 17 or an 18? So
you can't tell the difference.
Yeah, they're pretty close. And Shane, I think I showed you his card, but he sent me a beautiful holiday card. I forget which one was his though. So thank you, Shane, for the lovely holiday greetings, and we will bring Joe back in. So all right, it's just everybody. I return QSL, everybody. So if you send me a card, I'll send you one back. Got some stickers and stuff too I throw in there.
But he's too cheap. He uses the bureau.
Whoa.
Shots fired.
So Joe, last month you picked up something at a ham fest.
October, wasn't it? Or was it a little bit
November.
later?
It was in November. Yeah.
So 2 months ago I did. So I'm going to kind of scroll back here. And the lovely state-of-the-art for 1939, folks, which is still state-of-the-art, Hallicrafter's Sky Champion S20R receiver.
All right.
This thing, let me tell you, not only does it do CW, it does AM as well. All the bands.
All the
At
bands.
47 megahertz, right? And if you want something special, built-in speaker, try finding that someplace else. Collins, right? You got yourself ABC, BFO, and ANL. Now, I know what you're thinking, ANL. It's the noise limiter, right? Because there's a lot of noise coming from your neighbors. Got that right there. Makes it all go away. It's perfect. Great. Now, what would you pay for a beast like this brand new? Manufacturer's retail price, 1939, $49.99. What do you think a guy
Ooh.
like me paid for it at a Hamfest? $50. So I told you what, this is an investment.
There you
You
go.
can make 5 cents in 80 years on this, guys, which is more than what you'd make in interest rates over the past few years. So invest in some iron. Invest in some iron, friends. Michael, show those pictures.
Okay, we'll
Roll the
roll
beautiful
that.
beat footage. Bring that up.
All
So
right.
anyway, so this is the S20R. I got this at the Hamfest 2 months ago. It was from a silent key, so we don't know where it came from, whatnot. I do not have a picture of the underside, but it is all original caps on it. So I just one night took a gamble, poured myself a cocktail. One night, fellas. Threw it on the Variac, and I brought it up slow over the course of about 2 hours. You can see my fluke meter in the corner there. That's a recording meter, so I could actually watch current over time on that, through that in series. Brought it up slowly up to 120 volts, and I got to what, 120, about 100 volts, and she popped to life.
Yeah.
Lights came on. I got a little hum in there. I mean, it's got to be recapped. Absolutely, positively has to be recapped. Hayseed Hamfest out of Iowa. They are great for kits, for recap kits for all old radios. So I got caps on the way. I also want to thank, let's see, I have another company I got to thank here, Antique Electronic Supply. I got a bunch of parts from them today as well. So this is going to be a project here over the next couple of months. So there'll probably be a video or two on it.
Yep.
But it did spring to life. I can receive the local AM stations all right. I got some shortwave stations like around 8-9 megahertz in there. The lower hand bands, 40, 80, there's no sensitivity and selectivity really on it right now because the caps are just so worn out. So really got to be recapped before I can use it in the hand bands. I did get WWV on it for a little while. I did hear a little FT8 on it for a while. So I thought was, man, can I tap the IF off that, run it in the computer, and decode FT8? That would be cool, right?
That would be cool.
Um, it's like running Linux on a dead badger.
We'll take a
There's
look at
the inside. That's where the magic is. So the tubes were pretty much, I don't want to say original. They were kind of a mishmash of different brands, but they were all there. Transformer works. There's one electrolytic cap on the top there, and it didn't blow up. So, praise be to
We're good
God
there. Yeah.
on that. So we brought it up slow enough. But go to the next picture, guys. This
Yep.
is right here.
This is the money shot.
Oh, that's electric sex right there. That's beautiful. The warm glow of tubes late at
Yeah.
night down in the ham shack. That was right there. That was heartwarming. So I think 8 tubes or 9 tubes on that. She's definitely beat out. This was an intermediate model, by the way, guys. So it was a really good seller for helicrafters up until through World War II. After World War II, they discontinued it right around 1945.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess maybe the interesting part is that it didn't get a lot of ham use out of it.
Ah.
Because after 1941, there was no hams couldn't transmit anymore. So it really was primarily a shortwave and broadcast AM receiver. But it can be used for ham,
Mm-hmm.
for use. So my goal is just to get it up working electronically. The cabinet's probably about a 6 or a 7 out of 10. No dents, no major rust. Some little cosmetic issues here and there. The dials need to be replaced. The band spread dial is just busted up. It's half gone. And the main tuning dial, I'm just going to replace them both.
Yeah.
And it's going to get in alignment. So we'll go over how to do an alignment on an old radio like this. Amp up asked, do I need any tubes? He also smell of all electronics is like cocaine. I love the smell of napalm in the morning, my friend.
Mm.
Oh yeah. When she first warmed up, there was a good like just whiff it in. Just take a good whiff, because the dust is kind of burning off it,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Those caps reformed, they held. Praise be to God. There's a little hum in the back, so there's one of the audio circuit that's just about ready to go. Probably a wax cap or something. It doesn't sound like a power supply.
Yeah.
But I listened to the Packer game on it for a while.
Well, there you go.
550 SAU had the Packer game, and I cranked it on for a little while. That sounded great. Packers won. That was even better.
Because you're listening to it on the radio. So
well, I don't know. Recently, anytime I tune in, they just lose. And full disclosure, I did replace the power cord. The power cord was just cracked and nasty. It was non-grounded, non-polarized. So the chassis is properly bonded now. It's not a hot chassis designed too. So this one is safe to touch. But that's the S20R. I'm pretty excited for it. So
we're going to see more as you move along here. Hopefully, you're going to give us some updates. So
yes, yeah. So I think the first thing I'm going to show is today I got some perf board right here, like that. This is from Electro Cookie.
Yep.
Okay. So this is my perf board. I can't really tell too well on the screen, but in groups of 3, they're tied together. So it's almost like a breadboard. But the neat thing about this, look at that.
Ooh, snaps apart.
They snap apart. So on a little, like a 2x2 square here, I'm going to make what's called a RMA Dummy Antenna.
Okay.
So an RMA Dummy Antenna, the RMA is the Radio Manufacturers Association. So if you look at any radio, their manual from the 30s, 40s, 50s, so on and so forth, and their alignment instructions, part of the RF alignment is that you have to inject a signal at the antenna, but you need a RMA dummy antenna between the signal generator and the antenna input. And the reason for that is that the signal generator's impedance is much lower than what the impedance of an antenna would be at the time or in operation. So in order not to have that load change and to keep it within the same, not affect the resonant antenna or what resonance would be if they had an antenna up there, you have to have one of these dummy antennas. So we're going to make one on here. We're going to get the soldering iron out. It's a real easy project.
Yeah, in fact, we got it up on the screen right now. So
yep, I see it. That's actually the page I was gonna send to you. Or is that off my screen?
No, it's
okay.
No, it's. I just Googled it quick. So
there you go. That's what I did 30 minutes ago. But there you go. So we're gonna put that into play. We're gonna get that tuned up, and we're gonna have a good time with it.
All right. This is gonna be like a regular feature now, I think. So.
Well, if it's a regular feature, that means we're getting real expensive because that means things keep breaking. This was going to be a mini series, please. A mini series, like Lonesome Dove.
Chris was shopping at a thrift store and he came around a radio model that was in a Christmas store. It was in bad shape. So it's a lot of them. The wood veneer is always peeling off of them, and if they were ever stored in a basement, then they get then they just start to bubble in that, and that's the problem.
I have an old Philco console model down here, and I got it from a friend, and I got this like 5-6 years ago. That was going to be my first restoration project. I never got to it. It's still sitting down here. So I think once I get this up and running, I think I got to get back to that one. and
Yep.
get that done. But I mean, I want to think that, BAMA, the Boat Anchor Manual Archives, BAMA.net, uh, BAMA.edibris. Just look up BAMA manuals, and they have manuals for just about every radio ever made, going all the way back to the 30s. And a lot of people have actually gone through and rewritten these manuals, cleaned them up, annotated them. So there's a boatload of boat anchor information out there. If
Oh, I
you
know.
guys
It's
want to get
crazy.
into this kind of stuff, it is really rewarding. And you don't have to be an electrical guru to do some of this stuff. And you don't need a lot of the high tech equipment that you would for a radio nowadays.
No, no.
A simple multimeter, a cheap, old fashioned signal generator, you know, a soldering iron, a few other little things, and you can go ahead and start working on these yourself. I mean, people used to fix these by themselves back in the 30s and 40s. So you don't need a spectrum analyzer or a service monitor or a 8-digit multimeter or anything like that.
No, it's pretty. It's back when back in the day when we were working in the camera store, we call those old cameras, full of cuckoo clock technology. So it's
exactly. Yep. It's all simple stuff. So looking forward to it. It's just gonna be a throwback. It's gonna be a fun project, and I hope you guys watch.
all right.
And if you like that stuff, Patreon guys,
There we go.
capacitors don't pay for themselves.
Joe needs capacitors.
I do.
Oh, Kurt's wondering what I'm drinking. Is this iced tea or an adult beverage? It is kombucha. Brewed brew kombucha from Madison, Wisconsin. My daughter got a case of this stuff at a fundraiser she was at, and she gave me a couple bottles, and it's pretty good. Elderberry cherry. So it's there we go. There's my plug. So
elderberry cherry.
Elderberry cherry. Somebody had a question about the Sporty 40, and I'm going to grab it here because it's a good one. Kurt also yes, says there got to be a quicker technique for tuning the Sporty 40. Use the Wolf River Coil 3 radios plus 2 bundles of 6 wires at 16 feet. Best was 1.5 to 1. Yes.
I'm sorry. What was wrong with 1.5 to 1? That
1.5 to 1 is actually very good. And what I found with the Sporty 40 is that you got to kind of watch your and I talked about this last month, kind of watch your resonance, because what you might find what's happening is that you're coming to the point where you're getting all of your reactance totally eliminated and your resistance starts to drop below 50 ohms, and that causes your impedance to increase. So you'll get a little bit higher SWR, but the thing is going to work great. I've found that if you got the Sporty 40 with the whip fully extended, 4 16-foot radials, it's usually, the SWR will usually hang around 1.3, 1.5, but it's just gonna blow things out of the water. It's running great.
There shouldn't be much tuning. You got the 217-inch whip. You got the radials. Yep. Michael, do you elevate yours a little, or do you put it right on the ground?
Right on the ground. On the ground. I don't bother with elevating.
Yeah, there shouldn't be much to it. If you're getting a high SWR with that setup, something is not set up right. There shouldn't be much of any tuning with the Sporty 40.
Yeah. If you go back into my catalog, I got a couple videos that were done in late November and early December. I talk about the Sporty 40 and those adjustments in the tuning, and you might want to watch those videos. You might find them very helpful if you feel like you're having trouble with it. So, all right. And then Don says, the best thing you can do is to make a jumper for the Sporty 40. So you can, which is actually a really great idea. If you take a piece of wire with a connector, maybe a banana plug or a power pole, something like that, then you can bypass the coil if you want to use the whip for 20 meters and above without having to take the whole thing apart.
Just a jumper with an alligator clip. I think that would
Yep,
work just
that
super
works
duper,
too.
like
That
for
works.
batteries. And I would assume at some point in time the Wolf River guys are going to do that. I mean, they watch. There is a Facebook group for River Coils, and the owners of River Coils do monitor that. And if you
Yeah.
have a problem, they do respond on that. That's
Yep.
one cool thing about it. But yeah, if you make a jumper like a buddy stick jumper, um, that's real quick, and then you just jump that 20 meters, and then if you want to tune down to 15, you just shorten that whip a little bit. And I think the radials will still work just fine for it.
Yep. Exactly. So I got another question here. I think that I've seen this one pop up a couple times. KG6LI was using the end fed and heated up the toroid. The antenna builder thinks I might be running a hot mic. What do you run for your gain compression on the 891? Compression, I leave those pretty close to stock. Usually my mic gain is set to about 30-ish, I think. What I do is, now see, everybody's voice is going to be a little bit different, depending on how you project into the microphone. So the numbers don't mean as much as knowing on how to look at a meter. So switch your 891 over to ALC mode. That's you short menu, press the menu button, go to the meter submenu MTR, and then you can select ALC. And then as you transmit, you'll see there'll be a graph on the screen, like the bar graph for SW. It's similar to SWR, but for the ALC, it stops at about halfway. There's a portion of the graph that's sort of solid, and then the line extends into a blank no man's land. And you want to have that. You want to have, when you speak, the output to match what's on that ALC graph. If it goes past that 50, the halfway point on the ALC meter, then you're overdriving things. But if you can stay at that point or slightly below it, then hot mic shouldn't be the issue.
Yeah, I would be real surprised if you're heating up a toroid using sideband voice. And most of the time, when you melt down on or a toroid or something, you're running FT8 or RIDI or something that's full duty cycle. So I'm not 100% sure that that's the issue. If you're only running sideband voice on that is. But yeah, again, compression is a little is a lot. I don't run a lot of. I have a naturally very loud voice, a naturally very bassy voice, and I run a little compression, especially like in contesting, just for a little punch. But don't add a lot of it. That's the problem. As soon as you start adding a lot of compression, you're just going to start splattering. It's going to be hot. It's going to be, the audio is going to get worse. So definitely just kiss the ALC.
Yeah.
If the ALC is just kind of bouncing a little bit, that's perfect. That's great. Depends. Like ICOM, it's a little different. They give you a certain range that you want the ALC in. Yaesu, just kind of kissing the ALC is where you want it at, and that's a fine spot. Now, if your voice is a little different or a little weak, especially if you got a very quiet voice, I have never had that problem.
Yeah, that's my problem is when I speak into the microphone, I tend to project. I've got a naturally projective voice, so I usually have to watch the ALC, that meter, just to make sure that I'm not overdriving things, because
if you're a quiet person, you can actually crank that up just a little bit more.
Yeah.
Or if you kind of wander with the microphone a little bit.
Yeah, but see, the meter will look like this. There'll be a bar here at about halfway across the screen, and then you'll see, and then on the second half you'll see the fluctuating part of the meter, and you want to kind of match that bar, that solid part.
Go to full screen on that real quick. It's kind of hard to see when it's split screen.
Let's see if I can.
That's a pretty good graphic there. There you go.
Yeah. So. Yeah, this is what your ALC meter will look like. It'll be a solid bar, and then below this, right here, will be the fluctuating part. That's where as you speak. You'll want the fluctuating part of the bar to meet the solid part displayed on the meter. If it goes above that point, then you're overdriving. If you're so up
Yeah.
to 50%.
Yeah, yeah, and if you're running 891, I mean, really, the processor itself kind of holds things together. If you're running like an older tube radio or something where it's not digital, yeah, you can really get it hot. But even still, you're not full duty cycle.
I guess.
WV1V agrees with me there that I don't think that you're running a hot mic, but
No.
tune it down, see what happens, right?
Yeah,
What's the worst that can happen?
I guess the big question is what's the end-fed antenna? How big is the toroid, and how much power you're running through it? So it's
right. Is it this like one of those cheap end feds that are like for 15, 20 watts, and then you're running a 400? Yeah.
Yeah. I guess what the rating or the duty cycle is of the antenna.
Right. So like for 100 watts, so like at least a T130 toroid. So a little bit, I don't have my toroids here. I hate, 2 months ago I had a pile of them on my desk. I don't know where they're at right now. The desk is really a mess, guys. So it's been rough couple months here, but yeah, something a little bit beefier for toroids. But if you're running a little itty bitty one, then I am MCOM.
MCOM 3. They should run it. They'll take a couple hundred watts. So
it's a Chameleon MCOM 3.
Yeah, was that the Chameleon? 50 feet of coax.
Oh yeah, no, like
the
Chameleon MCOM 3 should handle at least 300.
Yeah,
I've used that. Yeah, I don't know if we're running a hot mic though. I'm going to disagree with the folks over at Chameleon on that, but
yeah,
I don't make the antennas either. So
hard to say, but yeah, check the ALC. If you think that's the culprit, see the ALC will tell you how you're really driving the rig. So all right, let's see. We just had one to pop up here. Why aren't there more videos about mag loop antennas? It's a good question. I think maybe we haven't seen so many in the past is because the conditions weren't really conducive for them. But as we get better in the solar cycle, we'll probably see more people, pull those mag loops out and more. Those types of videos.
I think the end-fed's been the antenna du jour, recently.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Because, everyone loves it. We did a video a few years ago on Chameleon's P loop, which is a smaller 10 through 40 QRP, and that just had a butterfly capacitor in it. The guys that run a little more power actually use like powered vacuum capacitors on those. They get a little intense with those, really. But for the folks that want to run QRP off their back deck, yeah, they're interesting. I don't have access to one right now, so I can't really say much about it. I do say that as a QRP radio or antenna, they're very directional. They're very knife edge. There's a lot of knife edge tuning. You're going to need to have a antenna analyzer tuning them.
Yeah.
But they're very effective even at 20 watts. Very effective at 20 watts. So
they are. The nice thing about the magnetic loops is they're directional. So you can turn them and favor, if the signal sounds weak, you can kind of rotate them until you get that full deflection of signal.
And it's really just reaching over and turning.
Yeah,
a quarter turn or whatever. It's all you really
physically. Need to do. And then the other thing too is they're really noise resistant because you can null out noise with them too. If you're getting noise from a certain direction,
right,
swivel the loop and it gets rid of that noise. A lot of people use them as receive antennas and then something else for transmit. So
shortwave guys love them. They really do.
Well, maybe we'll have to get a loop in here or something and start talking about them if people want to see more of those.
Start
Those
going on
types of
eBay
things.
looking for the old Russian vacuum capacitors. Good for a
You see
kilowatt.
those? It looks like the thing is just humongous. Like
Yeah, it's like the mothership is landing in your backyard.
Oh.
What was that? Oh, he's just shooting up 40 meters.
Yeah, there we go.
What does this mean?
Oh my Lord. We got a couple of there's a couple of events coming up here in the month of January we want to kind of talk about. First one is, have you heard of an event called Winter Heat? And it's hot in here,
That's
isn't
on
it?
Michael's OnlyFans account.
Hamactive.com, Winter Heat Amateur Radio Simplex event. And this actually started January 1st, and its entire goal is to make contacts FM 2 meters and 440 megahertz UHF, VHF, UHF. So it's something that you can, if you're a technician, you don't have a really big station, just a 50-watt mobile radio, you can kind of get into this and have a lot of fun. So the thing about it is that's the epicenter of Winter Heat is kind of in the middle of Illinois. That's where it sort of started a couple of years ago, and it sort of spread out from there. I mean, let's see if I can I found some. They got a participant map here. I mean, there's people. There's there's people all over the country that are kind of getting into it. I see in urban centers there's more and more people registered, but a lot of the activities in the upper Midwest here. And in fact, they even had a event QSO map. Let's see if this thing can pull up here. I thought this was kind of neat. Oops. Come on.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so they got an online logging system, so they can see, you can see in near real time on how this
There's
contest was going.
Pretty decent QSOs there.
Oh yeah,
Is there one from like northern Indiana all the way down to Georgia?
Yeah, hundreds of miles. People are doing hundreds of miles, and this is on FM, VHF FM. So we've had some good ducting too the last couple days, with this warm weather we've been having here in the Midwest. So I think that's really helped things out. So check it out. If if you're in the Midwest, excuse me, you might have better results in getting active with it. But like I said, it's kind of spreading everywhere. So it's sort of so you can do digital, you can do FM, 6 meters, I guess, too. So it's check it out, hamactive.com, the Winter Heat.
Yeah, you guys, if you once in a while, try 2 meter simplex. Go out there and have a little bit of fun with that, because not a lot of people get into it. But when the band's open, it's really, really fun. It's exciting. One day I was driving to visit a friend to the east of us, and all of a sudden at 5.2, someone started calling CQ. And the guy all the way up in the UP, up by the Mackinac Bridge. And I'm like, well, that's almost 200 miles. He's like, give or take, about 200. And we had a little conversation while I was running mobile. I mean, he had a little bit of tower and he was running some power, but it was weird. I'm like, I'm talking to you on my truck on 2 meters. This is fun. Yep. It's always a blast. So always have 5.2 and just give a call once in a while.
Mm-hmm. Well, last Saturday, I was up on Rib Mountain, doing a Parks on the Air activation, and I started out on, I said, I just pulled in before I set all my other stuff up. I said, I'm just going to get onto the mobile on 5.2 simplex and see who I can get. I got 7 contacts. So It
That's a
was,
good way to start out activation.
yeah. Well, 4 of them were locals, and then Gleason, Tomahawk. Tomahawk's like 40 some miles away.
Yep.
So it's yeah. No, it's yeah. Give a shout on Simplex. You'll be surprised who's out there listening. So
Yep.
so yeah,
Oh,
we practiced Simplex during the last Texas winter storm. It was a blast. So
well, you guys in Texas in your winter storms. Don't get me started. You guys might be the next one rides my gears.
yeah. And Don always calls CQ POTA on 5.2 when you activate it from a high location. So yeah, Rip Mountain is about 700 feet above average terrain. So it was, yeah, it's a natural. You never, like, yeah, you never know who's listening. So.
Right.
And then the second big thing that's coming up is, and this is, Joe's salivating, Winter Field Day.
Yeah. Or what we like to call Boys Weekend.
Oh.
Break out the grog.
There we go. A little bit of, there's some changes this year. The organization is under new leadership. So
Under new management.
Under new management. I don't think there's not any significant rules changes this year. So and with the Winter Field Day, basically, it's that last weekend in January. In the community, it's kind of like Summer Field Day, except it's a lot colder. You can operate outdoors, you can operate indoors, you can operate out of your vehicle or your camper or something like that. So it's a lot of fun. We've done it. We've done Winter Field Day for 4 years, 5.
Yeah. More than that, I think probably 5 years at first. I mean,
yeah,
maybe even a little bit longer than that. We've been doing it for a while. It's always a great time. We usually throw a couple antennas. We go. I have a friend's house. Oh, I know it's got to be more than that. We were out in the hole in Marion the first time we did it.
The first time we did it, we were out in that terrible hunting shack.
Oh God, no, that's great hunting shack. And I think you made did you make a 160 meter flat top, or what? What did you have for an antenna?
I tried to do an 80 meter flat top, but because the shack was practically sitting in an old abandoned quarry.
It's in a gravel pit. It's in a gravel pit.
Yeah. So the the legs were like they were at the top of the pit, and then it hung
below
down.
Ground level.
Yeah, most of it was below ground level.
They were. But that's all right. We had a good time. The next year I went out there and for Winter Field Day by myself, and I think that's the year I got New Zealand at like 4 o'clock in the morning on 40 meters. So, no, it's fun. It really is fun. So that's end of the month. I operate a lot like regular field day. They do say it is an emergency communication exercise. I just say it's fun to get out and play radio once in a while.
I think it's a little bit more casual than Summer Field Day. It's just a little more laid back. Because
I've said this before about emergency. I just don't follow the emergency communication thing with radio as much as other people do. But I do like to get out there and have a good time, and throw yourself in a situation where you do have to put something together, right? You're out. You're not at home where you have access to everything. You're usually limited by what's you brought in your car, and if you didn't bring it, you ain't running it, right? So, but it's a good time, and especially if you got some friends with a similar disability like us. Get on out there, call CQ, have a good time.
Drinking club with a radio problem.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
It'll be good. We've done a few videos on Winter Field Day, and it's always a good time. Like I said, a little more laid back, and I like it that way. So
yeah. It was cold, Joe. Who is a quarantine Catholic? Can you take?
Oh, she was talking about Texas. Yeah. That was. They get that weird ice, and then their power grid can't take it. So it's,
and so all right. this is the this is like my warm up to what grinds my gears. So, all right. So a couple years ago, you had the first big snowstorm, and it
Mhm.
was like this only happens once in 100 years. We can't prepare for this. It'll never happen again. And then it happened again.
And then it happens again.
Right? Like, okay, I get it. I don't put a swamp cooler in my house, but I got a couple air conditioners when it hits 95 degrees and it's 100% humidity. Okay. Um, like you don't have a furnace. It just boggles my mind. You don't have a furnace. Like I know people who live out in the desert. They got a furnace because it gets cold at night sometimes.
Well, a lot of them use electric though, like heat pumps
Yeah,
or baseboard heaters, and it's
a heat pump, like heat pumps will run, almost 20 below, or those
yeah.
baseboard heat. I get
Oh,
it, but then the whole Texas idea, like they're off the grid. Like why? Why? Like why aren't you on the grid? I don't get it.
yeah,
You know,
and that's
you're adverse to having any solar or wind out there for power. And then you have this, and you're like, holy moly! I don't know. Okay,
well,
I probably ticked off everyone in Five Land now.
everybody, yeah, they're coming after you. Oh,
Right.
gee.
So I apologize to Quarantine Catholic. It may have been cold. I feel for you. Um, what was the temperature that one winter field day when we were hanging antennas?
It was
Was it
like
20 below?
it was -5 when we got there,
Yeah.
but it was windy, not
Yeah.
really windy,
Okay.
but
Well, I feel for.
it was still in the single digits most of the day. Yeah, it was a chilly one. So. I got another question here, and then we'll get into what grinds your gears. You recommend a good 6'2", 1 1/4 and 70 centimeter rig for a new technician, be used portable and as a base station.
No, there's not. They don't make. Well,
Well, see, Yaesu used to have that quad bander, and then there's the Chinese knockoff, the TYT, I think it was, or something like
yeah.
that. But they
So
didn't have, yeah, but that was all FM.
Kenwood used to make a 2 meter one where you like had different modules, right? You remember that?
Oh gosh,
No,
that was so old. Yeah.
that's 25, 20, 30 years ago, probably. And
Hmm.
people who still have them want like too much money for them. The main one out there that's like a all mode, but I think it's 2 meters and up, and I don't think it has 220 on it. Is the ICOM 705?
The 705's got, yeah, that's HF, VHF, UHF, and then for full
Oh,
power would be the Yaesu FT991A. So
791A. I'm also thinking the 9700 by ICOM,
okay,
but now someone said, and I haven't seen for sure, ICOM's coming out with a portable 5 watts uh, version of the 9700.
oh,
So
interesting.
the VHF, UHF microwave 1.2 gig.
Yep.
But then the ICOM's also coming out with a 5 gig, 10 gig system.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how much is that going to cost? Like, do I have enough money or do I have enough funds on the credit card for one of those? Because that's going to be expensive.
Yeah. The TIT 9800 is
Yucky, yeah.
6'2", and actually I think it's 10 meters, 6 meters, 2 meters, and 70 centimeters.
Yeah.
But yeah, FM only. So if you want all mode, you're going to have to look at a Yaesu 991A. And they're portable enough that you could put them. They're
Yep.
primarily a base, but you can take them portable. They're small enough.
Yeah, I had a 991A. They're very portable. It's a little bit bigger than
Yeah.
the 891. It's about on size of an 897,
Hmm.
give or take. It's a little wider, I thought, but about the same depth. So nothing terrible. You can put it in a backpack. For sure.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah,
And
that's also a chunk of change too. I think the 991A is 1300.
1,200 or 30, yeah,
Yeah,
12 or
12,
1,300. And that's the problem when you start to cram everything into one box. I mean, it sounds really appetizing to have everything, that whole shack in a box concept, but that's like putting all your eggs in one basket. I would probably, just starting out, I would look at getting maybe a good VHF UHF dual band FM rig for mobile, and take it into the house for a base kind of thing. And then that point on, as you sort of kind of grow and build your station, think about another rig to supplement, maybe 6 meters, or if you want to, or something all mode or something like that.
As a tech, 2 meter and 440 FM, just stick with that at first. Anything else, I think you're leading yourself for a little bit of a disappointment. When I first got my General, I got a QRP radio right away, and I was a little disappointed. And I'm a guy who likes a little bit of a challenge. But it's a little too much of a first step. You gotta break into it. And the other thing, and I've always said this, is that the things I wanted to do when I first got my tech license, I have no interest in now. Absolutely none. And that might be what you run into as a new tech. Get wet with the basics. Figure out where you want to go, what's your flavor of radio, and you can move on from there. Go and buying an ICOM IC 9700 as a tech, which is like a $1,500, $2,000 radio,
just right out of the gate. It's
you might be, and then you find out that something's dead in your area. That's a letdown.
Talk to others. If you can get hooked up with a club or any other local hams, you can see what's active, what things are, what people are using in your area. So
I will say this: the technicians right out of the gate who buy like a $5,000 radio as a technician right out of the gate are the same guys who are selling them 6 months later saying they hate the hobby. They are.
Yeah.
But have fun. Go do something.
Oh, yeah.
Get on the air. I'm going to say it. Get on the air of the Baofeng. At least make some contact.
There you go.
Have some fun.
Yep. Yeah. And Bruce says, we need a good old 2 meter 70 center all mode. Because it's
which is the 991A. If you could make a 991A with a better receive on VHF UHF, because you cram everything in there, I think you lose a little bit on the receive. If you could make a 991 Yaesu that was just VHF UHF microwave, with really good triple het and all mode, all the fancy stuff, I'd be interested.
There we go.
Really interested.
Yeah. If you want to roll portable, the 705 has got transmission says you can get an amplifier for it. ICOM makes a matched amp, so you're not stuck at 10 watts. So it's that might be a possibility too.
Yeah.
But now you're talking more money. But just start out. Get a good dual band VHF UHF, and then just sort of grow from there. I think it's the best thing to do.
John Henry's got a good thing, and I think at some point in time is going to get fixed. The Zygo G90 for like a cheap all mode, all band portable radio is great, but it doesn't do VHF UHF, and I wonder when Zygo is going to drop one of those. Right? Because now the 817 and 818 is discontinued. There's a gap in like the $500, $600 range for a radio that you can run a transverter on. A transverter is a box, or it's a electronic device that will take a signal in one band, usually like 2 meters or 10 meters, and move it to a different band, such as 220, 1.2 gig, 10 gigahertz. The microwave guys use transverters a lot. The VHF guys like them as well. But now that the 818 is gone, other than the 705, or the 705, I think is the compact one that's on 2 meters, but it only is 2 meters and 440 on VHF UHF. So, I think Zygo, there's a market there. Zygo, let us know, build one and send one to us, and I'll break it. I'll demonstrate it.
Oh, Scout makes a good point. The Shack in a Box is a kind of a Leatherman multi-tool. The tools are there, but it's sacrifices have been made.
Scout, I'm going to disagree with you. I got a new Leatherman for Christmas. Not a lot of sacrifices of that bad boy. That is a BMF right there. Love it. And that might be a video in itself.
Your new Leatherman.
Oh, oh. I saw what the wife paid for it. I was a little shocked. I'm like, really? But then it
Wow.
has bits. It has little driver bits on it. I'm like, oh, I love it. I love it already.
Oh, one more. Then I got to take this one because John also asks. Second question: when you do POTA, do you guys get permits from government agencies?
Permits. We don't need those
No,
stinking permits.
no. There's with limited exceptions, I would not try to seek permits to do a Parks on the Air activation. And I'll get into the exception in a minute. But usually, I think that if you kind of go into the place, go into the park, and you try to tread lightly, leave no trace, take a small footprint, nobody's going to bother you. And for the most part, so just go. You're just like any other. You're like any other person that's enjoying the park, except that you're using your radio. If the park rules say don't hang wires from the trees, don't hang wires from the trees. If you're gonna be setting up a vertical with ground radios, scope out a spot so you're out of the flow of traffic, and you'll be fine. Now, I said limited exceptions. There are some spots that, like national historic sites,
Yeah.
that are in urban areas that are very small, they're very tight, and you're going to have to seek some kind of permission to activate those. But other than that, I know there's guys that go out in DC on the Washington Mall every day, and they just got their stuff in a wheelie and a little pop-up antenna, and they're on the air, and the park police leave them alone. So it's
Yeah. Once I've had an interaction with a warden. 'Cause I like to go to the places that are remote. I don't like anyone around me. Just
mhm,
my once a month on here for public interaction is more than enough.
yeah.
I really am an introvert. Um, but I had a warden come up on a Sunday morning. I was out in a wildlife area, like a mile deep, and he drives up and weather experiments. No, no radio. And I gave him a brief, description of what's going on, and okay, carry on.
Yeah.
He kept right on going, and it wasn't even a road; it was like a path. We were, and I was just right off the road, right at the path
Yeah.
road, and he just drove right on, and that was about my only interaction that I've ever had with anyone else. So,
Yep. I know a lot of times I'll set up in a campground on my campsite, and I've never had any troubles. Set up on on a beach or in a park in a parking area. Just pick a corner that's away from people, and you're good. I have more trouble with dog walkers walking through my radio network than I do with
the
So
kids running through, you know,
yep.
especially if you're running elevated radios.
Mhm.
That's just the kids are going to get clotheslined eventually. It's going to happen.
Yep. Yep. Sean says use near an Indian burial ground in a state park, so there's something to consider. And absolutely, I
Yeah, I mean that's bad mojo right there.
well,
There's some mojo there, and you don't want to. I mean, you can infect your radio like Pet Cemetery stuff there.
I activated Lizard Mound State Park here in Wisconsin, which has effigy mounds in it, which and it's you honor those places so that where the mounds are, you're not gonna activate there, stick your antennas there. But there are other parts of the park that are away from the mound areas or the burial sites where if there's picnic tables and barbecue pits, you can set up a station.
Guys, you're not going to activate Pearl Harbor. I'm just going to
Mhm.
tell you that right now. If you try to activate Pearl Harbor, you probably should be smacked. I mean, there are some places that you just got to revere them. We're
Yep.
not going to use those for parks down the air. But there's
Yeah.
other places that if in doubt, you can ask. But sometimes it's just easier to ask for forgiveness than it is permission, right?
There's a couple that activate Alcatraz Island,
Yep.
but they get permits.
They get permits, and the Park Service works with them too.
Yep, because Mhm.
So,
And that's one of the rare exceptions. And there's places where, yeah, that permits would be necessary. But
yeah, because Alcatraz, you can only kind of go out there on a tour.
ferry,
You
you got
just
to take
can't.
the
Yeah,
ferry.
you take a ferry out there, and it's a guided tour. You just can't really roam the area out there.
Hmm.
So, but you know, the Park Service, if you let them know in advance that you can do it. So,
Yeah. Well, KH6WI activated Pearl Harbor this week, so we'll have to
oh,
ask you.
hey, I'm sorry about that.
So that is possible. So
Nice.
it's yeah.
I'd like to know exactly. Did you have to get it permission in advance,
Yeah.
or what? I mean, you weren't out. You weren't out over the like the Arizona. I'm assuming that you were on the land. You were like kind of off in an area far away from where everything else was. I'm assuming. So,
Yeah, I would think so. I don't think you yeah, I don't know. So it's hopefully he comes back.
and I guess Pearl Harbor is still an active naval base too, as far as I understand.
Yes,
So
it
there's
is.
got to be something there too. So,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So okay. Well, we'll see if he comes back. Maybe we'll catch it after we grind your gears. So
okay.
since
Well,
we're
I've been
getting to
grinding all night here.
oh.
Maybe I'm spent.
So I guess this is the time to ask.
You know what really grinds my gears?
Okay. So Michael's got a problem. He
A
attracts
lot of people
flies. You
a
attract
lot of people
flies.
have this problem. It's not just
Yeah,
me.
but it's so okay. So let's understand something here. Parks on the Air is not a contest.
No, it's not.
It's an operating event. It's an operating program. Uh, it's not a contest. You don't really get points. You get QSOs. It's good. It's fun. People get out. They operate. They have a good time. People get back into the hobby because of this. It's casual. It's fun.
Mm-hmm.
Now there is an agreement. It's a pretty brick wall agreement that we do not contest on the work bands 60, 30, 17, 12.
Hmm.
We get that. The contests have that rules written in them.
Yes, they do.
They do. Some people feel that they need to be sticklers about this, shall we say. So, in some of the videos that Michael's done in the past, he goes on 17 because 17's been really opening up, guys.
17 is
17's a fun,
nice. Yeah.
it's a fun band.
Mm-hmm.
And he gets an individual that's jamming. There's no other way to say it. It's malicious interference.
I'm
It's
not
not
the
just
only
someone
one.
tuning up for a minute. It's
Yeah.
straight up malicious interference. And here's what I got to say to this guy, because it's the same person. We know, we know who it is. And here's what I say: if you think that your greatest achievement is tuning up on someone on 17 meters because you don't like the fact they're operating on there, maybe you need to go out and achieve something. That's what I'm going to say, right? Because you sitting in the basement, running a carry over someone,
Mm-hmm.
spent how much money into this hobby? Getting a license, getting a station, learning, and this is what you're going to do with it. Okay, so good for you, buddy.
Yeah.
You're awesome. Yeah, you really showed him. You're cool. I get it. You're like the jerk at high school that tipped someone's lunch tray. Right?
Yeah.
Like, what are you? You're a douchebag, right? I don't got a better word for you. I think probably douchebag is probably doing it pretty good. And this is
That's
a family show, okay?
yeah.
So here's the deal. Michael's still going to go on 17.
Oh
Other
yeah.
people are still going to operate Poto on 17. You can try all you want. You ain't going to get very far. So why don't you just turn your radio off, maybe sell it on Facebook Marketplace, and get something that you enjoy instead of being a douchebag.
There you go.
You know,
Underwater basket weaving or something like
yeah.
that.
You know what? Or I don't know, Russian roulette. Is that still a game people play? You know, it's like
Oh.
solitaire.
Hmm.
I don't know. But here's the deal, dude. Go away. Just stop. No one cares. No one thinks you're cool. And I'm going to tell you straight out, too. Other people are listening. Other people who actually do care, who
Mm-hmm.
have letters behind their name. And eventually that's going to cost you.
Yep.
So stop. Just stop.
Yep.
We're
There's
done.
you can't.
We're still going to be there. You ain't going to stop it. You're just going to make yourself look like a DB. Delta Bravo.
Yeah.
Alpha Hotel. Thank you, Christian Kaiser. I love Alpha Hotel. You're at Alpha Hotel, buddy. Trust
Yeah.
me. So just go away. I'm done. That's what grinds all of our gears.
It does. It does. And you're not. You can't be anonymous on the airwaves. Somebody's gonna find you, and I'm sure that they've got a line on you already. So
We know. And I'll say this. I'll say this. I mean, it's reported. It's reported. People are listening. People, again, we had letters behind 3-letter acronyms behind her name
mhm.
of government agencies, and eventually you're going to get a call. That's going to be the end of it.
Yep.
You know what? Those fines start at $10,000, buddy. You think that's a great, worthwhile investment? So you spent all your money on your radio, your antenna, getting your license, all your equipment, and I'm just going to throw $10,000 out there because I'm a douche.
Yeah.
Okay. Great job. You're awesome, man. Take that leather jacket. You're a rebel. You know, you got the smokes rolled up in the sleeve. You know, you don't take anything from anyone, do you?
No.
Yeah. Right.
Rebel without a clue. So.
Yeah. Rebel without a pause is what it is. Because you ain't getting any from me here. That's what Christ is.
Now you just inspired me to go on 17 meters again.
You know what? Here's a deal. I'm going to tell you this. Let's set a date this spring. All of our viewers, we're just going to have a 17-meter photo activation day.
There we go.
Just a. Oh, did I do that on Family Show?
All 17 all the time. You can only be at one place. So
all 17 all the time. You know what we want? Dave TV.
And that's the whole thing. So it's the more people that you'll just attract attention. So get on 17 meters, and the more of us that are on there, I mean, he can't spread his vitriol to all of us. So it's fill up that band. So
right, exactly. No, I hear you.
Oh,
let's just do it. We're going to set it up probably March, April. It's going to be the KB9 VBR Get On 17 photo event, and bring it. We can outpower you.
Yeah. All right, let's before we close things down, we can circle back on a couple things. So Pearl Harbor, you can activate on Ford Island. There's parking lots. So there we go.
That's cool. That's interesting. I've never been to Hawaii.
Yeah.
But if you can just like set up a buddy stick or a Wolf River coil out there and rock and roll, that's awesome. I would do that. Again, my reverence for those who perished in December 7th, 1941. But if you're out there in the parking lot, I think that's really cool, actually.
Yep.
And if that's the case and it's legit, then maybe I need to start planning a little trip to Hawaii.
Oh, Dave KZ9V's heading out this month to Hawaii. It's his first time he's been there in like 3 years, so he's.
Is he packing the trunk? Can I kind of sneak in?
Yeah, but then he won't have room for the radios.
I'm bringing my own radio. She can use mine.
Oh. So I think we had one more. Somebody was asking about. Here we go. Oh yeah, Francisco. wire dipole for 10 meters. And notice you didn't use a balun, just direct fed. Can I use just RG58AU? Sure
Yep,
can.
absolutely.
The balun, especially if you're using a current balun, does give you an advantage of trying to, keeping any kind of common mode currents off the feed line. But really, for the most part, if it's a well designed dipole antenna, you don't need the balun. You can just direct feed it.
No, you won't have too much common mode current on a 10 meter. They're very wide banded. Even a 10 meter vertical. Even if you take a CB whip and you trim it down 10 meters, they're really wide banded. So you don't have a lot of reflective power coming back on them. So you really don't. Even a 20 or 40 meter, you don't need to have a balun on them at all. Baluns help with difference in impedance. So a typical flat top dipole is 75 ohms, which is what, 1.5 to 1?
Yeah.
It's totally usable by modern transceivers right now without even making them sweat. Okay, don't think that you need to have a tuner on it at 1.5 to 1. You don't.
No.
If you're using like an off-center fed dipole, usually the feed point impedance at resonance is 200 ohms.
There you got
you want to have a 4 to 1.
Yep.
So like the Carolina Windham or off-center fed dipole, those have a 4 to 1 on them. But for a simple 10 meter dipole, absolutely not. Do not put a balun on it whatsoever. Just run it, direct feed it. 58 is fine. 58 is still fairly low loss at 28 megahertz. Once you get into the VHF stuff, then you have some losses. But at 10 meters, you should be fine. The CBers use it at 27 megahertz without a problem. So
I'll tell you a little secret about my 10 meter dipole I got in the backyard. I'm feeding it with RG6.
Scandalous. but it's 75 ohms.
Yes, it is.
Flat top dipole, 75 ohms. You're not going to have much of a difference in SWR. You know? Oh,
it runs great.
You're such a rebel, Michael.
I know.
So what are you using for a connection? Are you just putting it in the back of the tuner then and running it direct, or did you crimp on like a PL239 on it, or?
No, I got some of those. I put the F connectors on the coax, and then I just use some F to PL259 adapters.
Oh man, those the best that you could find on Amazon.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, works great. It does. I mean, I ran it at the 10 meter contest, and it works great.
And your SWR is always below 2 to 1, so you're good.
Oh, it was like 1.3 to 1 coming in.
1.3 to 1. Did you have it a little bit of a slope at least? That's another thing too. I think it's on the technician test.
Yeah.
So at a flat top it's 75, but as you kind of run it down this way, it comes down to about 50.
It was an inverted V. V. The peak is at about 16, 17 feet. And and I just did it, quick inverted V in the backyard, and 75 feet of RG6 back to the rig, no tuner. I just plugged it into the second antenna port, and then I just rock and roll. 10 meters is awesome.
That is a fun band. It really is.
It is.
But you were using the 3000. You weren't using your HTX 100, were you?
No, but Saturday I'm gonna take the HTX 10 out Saturday. So
nothing but the best of Radio Shack.
That's right. That's right.
If you can find yourself an HTX 10 or HTX 100, you're fun little rigs for 10 meters.
Yep.
Grab one if you can if it's a good price.
All right. So thanks a lot, everybody. This was a good evening. It's almost, we've been on here for almost 2 hours.
And we had almost nothing planned tonight either. So
no, we didn't. Yeah, it was a good conversation. A lot of good stuff, and check out the Winter Heat all this month. at
Mhm.
hamactive.com. Winter Field Day, January 28th, 30th, 2029, something like that. That last weekend in January. And our next live stream is going to be Thursday, February 2nd. So this month is going to go fast. We got everything.
When is Groundhog Day? February what?
February, it would be it's the 2nd, isn't it?
Oh,
Oh,
so
no.
can we just replay this month's for Groundhog's Day?
I got you, babe.
Bill Murray would probably sue us.
Oh, probably. All right, everybody. We're gonna slip on out of here. So everybody have a great month, and we will catch you in February. So
Stay warm. Have a good time, and I'll leave this with our conversation on what grinds my gears. My neighbor, who's passed away a few years ago, had a very good inspirational quote to one of my other neighbors shortly before he's passed. Don't let the bastards win.
There you go.
You're right. Don't let
That's
the
right.
bastards win.
Don't let them win.
Nope.
So have a good night. I'm Michael, KB9VBR.
Don't let the bastards win. I'm Joe, KD9CJX 73.
7-3.